What's up, beautiful people? If you're watching this, you made it through 2020. Thank God. Thank God. I apologize for any green screen activity back here. I've got some new lights that are on the way, and we'll be upgrading those soon. Thank you so much to our, and one of which who is with us today is David Goodwin, and he's got a very interesting story. And I wanted to bring him on so that he could tell this story. Get this banner over here. All right. David,
Great.
what's up, man?
How's it going?
Doing good. So you are one of probably the first Yang gang that I guess followed me, right? Whenever we started
Oh
this whole
yeah.
really weird. And then you me is because like our Twitter was basically used for websites that we had up and this, that, and the other. We didn't have any followers. And then we started doing the whole Andrew Yang uh, promoting him and trying to promote the Yang Gang. And you followed me one day, and nobody had followed me in a long time, and that's why you stick out to me so much. I
Yeah, it's
really
important that,
appreciate that.
all of us, support all of our creators out there, and people that talk about stuff because we watch it, but if you don't like follow it and, click on links and stuff, then, it's important that we all talk to each other.
For sure, for sure. And I appreciate you are I believe our most recent Patreon,
Yeah.
and it's
Got my finances straightened out. 2020 was a little rough for me. Spent a
hey,
little time out of work.
I watched this guy. His name was Meet Kev on YouTube. He's an investor guy, and I see super chats coming in for him, and I'm like, bro, this dude does not need that money. This guy's a millionaire.
Yeah.
He doesn't need that money. But like for us on these small shows, man, it helps. It really helps. So we
Yeah.
appreciate you doing that. So give us a little bit of your background.
Oh, wow. So I got a degree in IT way back in like 89. So I've been doing IT for like 30 years. Born in Ohio, raised in Virginia, moved to Kentucky. That's where I raised my family. So the kids are in college here now. So that's where I'm coming from.
That's awesome. But now, am I mistaken, or did you say that you had a run for Congress?
Oh yeah, that. Okay, so now that the kids are in college, I'm doing all those things that you put off forever. So I'm not retiring. I still got a day job. But yeah, so in 2018, I had the same idea that Yang did, and I started my 2018 run. And while I was running, I actually I was hanging out in the basic income Reddit, and I saw like people talking about Yang or Yang get announced, and so I remember like the first day when that when he first popped up, and and Scott runs that, and I didn't know at the time, but that they knew each other and things like that. But yeah, so I got to see like Yang sort of pop up there, and so that was cool. And part of my platform was running on basic income. Now, as far as my campaign, and the reason why I didn't run in 2020, it didn't go very far, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the process. I talked to thousands of people, which is always good to talk to your community, because
Well, for one, I'm interested in that process because this is something that's been on my radar for a while. Is running for office, and talk about what that process is like.
Well, now that we've got a lot of people that ran in 2020, there's a lot of people who know a lot more about me, but high level, before, let's see, you cannot run unless you officially announce. And once, so if you announce, then you are running and all the rules apply. There's a bunch of paperwork up at the federal level. You don't have to do any of that unless you raise over $5,000. Then you have to do it. But the advantage to doing it, and I did file up there, is it gets your name out on that federal register. And so people like who are looking for who is running, they can look there. That's one place to look. So if you're not in the media and things like that, it's a place to look. And you got to turn in any money that you raise. You got to report that in quarterly and then monthly. And so that's really it. You have to register with your state, you register with the federal, and then you're off. But it's important not to say that you're running before you understand how to do those processes or whether you're going to do them or not. Because do the rules first, clean up your social media, then announce. Don't announce and then make it a mess.
Well, listen, I kind of subscribe to the Dr. Jermaine Johnson school of thought that I said what I said, and I don't give a damn whether you like it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
I always try to be real, no matter what it is that I'm talking about. That way, if it does come back on you, man, I said it. What do you want me to say? Look.
Exactly. And I do like him. I follow him too.
I live and die by every summer. That doesn't mean that I'm not open to, changing my mind or evolving under new circumstances or whatever the case may be. But whatever I said at the time, I believe it 100%. So I guess I'll just have to get over it.
Yeah.
So talk about this patent. You said you were working on a patent, correct?
Yeah, well, I had an idea on how to improve voting. And so I was like, I want to protect it from any DNC or RNC messing it up, any corporations messing it up. So I went through the process on how to file a patent. And actually, if you have an idea, you have some little machine you want to build or some idea, if you go to the website, the government patent office. And by the way, the patent office doesn't take any of our tax money. All the fees and stuff that they collect, that's how they get funded. So we don't actually pay for the patent office. It's in the Constitution. It's there for you to use. But if you don't make a lot of money, and the amount is high, it's it depends how many people in your family, but you can get free help filing a patent. So I started that process and I clicked on the thing, and you have to go through a training course so that you understand how to do a patent. And then you can ask for your free help. Now, nobody emailed me back, but it was Christmas and I figured, well, considering the things that happened yesterday and I don't really need a patent, I just said, you know what, I'm just going to publish it and get the idea out there. Now, the problem with doing that is now that I've done that, it's called disclosure. And once you disclose something, if you haven't patented it, it's done. You can't patent it now because you have told everybody.
Right. That makes sense. So talk about that process. I mean, talk about what it is exactly that you were trying to do to get patented.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this a couple of times. With the way we do voting now, you got your mail-in ballots, your paper ballots, you've got these machines, but going back to 2000, and some of your older viewers might remember Dimple Chads and the Gore thing, and we were using punch cards back then. Punch cards were old in 2000; they were from the 70s, right? So now today in 2020. Why are we using, I know some people have some issue with the Dominion voting machines or, whatever. I haven't looked into that story deeply. Or they want to see the votes counted. Well, why don't we just take a picture of the ballots, instead of having a machine and having it counted behind closed doors? And, I trust these volunteers that do the manual counts, and, machines can go wrong, but in general, they probably work. But I think people would trust things more if they could actually see all the ballots, a picture of every ballot. And it's really simple. You just upload it and you write some software to count it, and everyone can see the ballot. And if they want to write their own software to count it, they can do that. And so, it removes this behind closed doors that people, especially in this election, we're concerned about.
It seems to me what do you think of Andrew Yang's idea of using something like blockchain?
Oh, yeah. And I support that. And, for my connection to that would be however, you do your blockchain on your phone to electronically vote and, do all that. That's great. Have it spit out an image It says, this is a real voter and there's the ballot, so that all the votes are together. Because while I support the blockchain, I don't know how rural in Indiana you're living, but out here, I only have to go a few miles down the road and there's no internet, and the data plans are expensive and low volume. So these interesting electronic vote on your phone plans, they're great. And I think it could cover 80% of the country. I'm worried about the other 20% that, are my neighbors. So yeah, I support it, but there has to be something for rural America too.
Yeah, I don't even understand like the whole blockchain thing exactly, and cryptocurrency, and it's like so beyond me, and it's been explained to me several times, and I still don't understand cryptocurrency. But
Yeah, I've been
that
in
does
IT
not,
a while, and it's complicated.
yeah,
It is,
that
and I'm
doesn't
not
stop
going to
me from
pretend like
buying
I know all
Bitcoin.
of it.
Are you making sure that you're buying your Bitcoin?
I'm not into, like, I don't want to get any hate, but I'm not into it. It's like I'm fine for other people being into it, but I don't do it.
Yeah, I'm telling you what's the truth, man. It has just kept skyrocketing, and like, I put a little bit of change in it the other day, and I'm sitting there watching it grow, and I'm just like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't have to understand it to be able to make money off of it.
Well, I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, Bitcoin's definitely different than gold and stocks, but it's just like anything else, buy low, sell high, right? Make your money, get out. Now, the Bitcoin crowd is like, hold it, hold it, hold it. But, it's always good
Yeah,
to be right at the top.
and someone in the chat brought up a great point about blockchain. With blockchain, you can't change the data and alter it. It's there. It's like a transaction,
Right.
and it's
Right.
happened. And I think it's so, I don't know. It's so frustrating. It's almost like, remember when we were school, like when I was first going to school, we still had microfiche machines. You remember those?
Yeah. I remember those. Yeah.
That's how old I am.
Yeah.
So we still had those in school, and it's like everything in school was like so outdated.
Yeah.
And it's the same way with our government. It's like everything is so freaking outdated. Even the people who are in power are outdated.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember even years ago watching, like, when I used to live in Cincinnati, watching the Cincinnati City Council talk about cable, which wasn't new back then, but they didn't understand it. Like, they didn't understand cable TV and how that worked. And it just boggled my mind. Like, they need some help, But with this idea, like, instead of like saying, oh, we're going to go to this new technology and it's going to be more expensive, it's actually cheaper. Like, we don't need all these voting machines. You can, and again, I'm really thinking about rural areas. Like, with this, taking pictures of a vote, you can use a fax machine. And you know how old those are. I mean, probably some of your viewers are like, wait, let me Google that. Fax machine, what is he talking about? But you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely know what you mean. So let's talk about for a second about this craziness that's happened at the Capitol. What is your take on all this?
Well, the thing is, I understand that some people feel that something went wrong. And since they feel that way, some people feel that way, they're going to stay at home. Other people are going to feel that way and they're going to show up and they're going to be peaceful. And some people are going to feel that way and they're going to get mad. And so that's why it's like, okay, well, I can't solve all of that and I can't solve it for everyone. But if the people who said that things were messed up, if they could see the vote and if individual people could see the vote, then they would trust it more. You wouldn't like all of a sudden get complete trust, but it would be, less people doubting at home, which is a lot of people, less people showing up, which is fine, First Amendment. And then less people, running around in a federal building getting themselves in trouble.
Yeah, it seems like that there has got to there's got to be a way to make it transparent for everybody to see, and where there can be no fuckery, there can be no, with technology where it's possible. I mean,
it's possible and it's easy. Like, I mean, I could do this on my own. There's people in the Yang Gang who could do it a lot quicker than me. It's like if enough people get interested in an idea, it could just be open. So like everybody could look at the code. The code could be open source. There's no companies trying to sell you a machine. There's no 2 or 3 guys with a little company in Iowa messing up the primary. You remember that, right? So yeah. I mean, this stuff isn't hard. I'm not the best expert in IT ever. I mean, there's a lot of people who could make this happen.
Right, and there are definitely somebody in the Yang Gang who make that happen.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just wondering if I can take that somehow and use it as part of my platform to run on. Whenever I make my run.
Yeah. And I'm gonna head out of here and contact my rep and contact my Secretary of State and my state rep and say, look, I got this idea. What do I need to do to take it to the next step? Because I don't expect them to go, oh, we're gonna do this. I expect them to say, well, I need more. So I want to find out what is the next step and get them interested. But really, for a small amount of funding to a college, maybe it could get done, just doing that. But, or if enough people understand the idea, something could get done. And then it's a matter of throwing away the voting machines and going to taking pictures of the ballot, which could be done like, a lot of people have those printers at home, right? You can print stuff, you can scan stuff. That's all it is. Just scan it, send it up to the internet, get all those ballots together, keep it private, so that I can't tell how you voted, you can't tell how I voted, because that's important. And then count them up there. Let people see the ballots. And if they want to argue the ballots up there, that's fine. Now, back in 2000, and even in the more recent election, they're always in a big hurry to destroy those ballots because they don't want people arguing about an election forever. But we're in 2020. The election was 2 months ago. What happened yesterday, 2 months after. So there's no benefit in destroying the votes after the election anymore, I don't think. I think like we're past that. Like, let's just keep it and talk about it.
You would think that, but unfortunately, we have people who are in power, and I don't understand how it keeps happening, how we can like sit here and be utterly disgusted with the people in power, and yet we keep voting back in.
Well, I mean, I've always put that up, and really until I ran for Congress, I was taking care of my family. I was going to work. So what I knew about politics was, I mean, probably more than most people I hang out with, but it wasn't a lot, So now, I'm older, I've got more time. I'm having more interest in like, oh, maybe that guy I've been voting for, I shouldn't have been trusting all these years because, I didn't follow the day to day. Saw a couple of ads, maybe popped on the website during the election.
And that's unfortunately, yeah, I think that's unfortunately where a lot of people are at.
Yeah.
Is most people are just like so focused on making sure that the rent gets paid.
Yeah, exactly.
Making sure that we keep the phones on, making sure that we got heat, things of that nature. Just day to day, what they call what is it? How do politicians refer to the dinner table issues?
Yeah.
But that's what affects, and the reason that we all don't know. If we weren't so broke, we wouldn't be so focused on it, and we might be able to pay attention to what's going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
So talk about the need. How do you see it for a universal basic income?
I'm sorry, the heat cut on. Can you? I can't.
Talk about how you because I know that you're a supporter of UBI, but just talk about what that would actually mean to you from your perspective.
Well, you mean in my personal life, or how should it get done?
I mean, what? You broke up there.
In my personal life, or like how it should get implemented?
No, yeah. Talk about how it should be implemented, how you think it should be implemented.
Well, let's see, when I ran, my idea was, you know what? Let's give everybody $1 a day, which is a very low amount, much lower than what Yang was saying. And then keep cranking it up. Like Yang's thing was like $33 a day, when you do it. And it's like, keep finding a way to fund it, crank it up slowly over time, and people will get used to it. So that was my idea for get it in. Now, the other thing, even on Yang's idea to get it in, and I think Biden should start this like right now. The jobs report just came out. 140,000 jobs were lost last month. We're not anywhere up to where we were from COVID. And they want to come out with all the plans that they always do. We're going to build back better and build some roads and everything will be fine. It's like, how about we do some basic income, get the checks going out now, do that VAT tax that Yang was talking about, but do that VAT tax with no exclusions in 2022. So we roll out the checks, we do the deficit, and then, and Congress funds themselves for a decade, 10 years. So for the first 2 years, no tax, and the next 8 years, then you have that VAT tax. And then with no exclusions. And then the next 2 years can be about, what do we exclude out of the VAT tax? Is this working? Can we still afford this? But that at least gets the ball rolling for 2 straight years. So that's how I think they should do it, like right now, right when he gets into office.
What do you see happening though? Because I see a lot of opposition to that.
Yeah, I mean, in the public, most people want it, but the Democrats have got their majority. There's Steve Mnuchin in West Virginia. They could, when you talk about something like basic income, or even building bridges and stuff like that, anything that costs money, it takes extra votes more than just a majority. If I understand it correctly. Now, I saw something the other day. Well, if the House agrees and the Senate just gets a simple majority, it can go. But I think there's a lot more rules than that. So anything with money, they're going to have to get, a lot of people on board. They're going to have to reach across the aisle. And I know Biden keeps saying that he's going to do that, but that's what they really need to concentrate on, and no more of these games of, they're just, no games of the one side trying to block the other, and no games pretending that they can't do something because they're being blocked. Like, there is stuff that they can do together. They need to look for that stuff. And so that is Biden's challenge. And, the Democrats will not win in 2022. They will not win in 2024 if they don't start taking care of people. That's what they need to focus on. Like, everything on their list is great. I agree with it. I'm with them. But if they don't start taking care of people, they are going to lose. And that's the plain and simple truth.
Yeah, it makes me sick when I hear somebody like Nancy Pelosi up there talking about, I feed the people, or we know them, and this and that. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Man. You do not know what it's like to live like I have to live. You have no freaking clue. Eating your damn ice cream and sitting up there in your, oh my gosh, your mansion. It just makes me sick, man, because I always hear them, they've got all this money for war. They've got dollars for endless wars to feed the war machine. And you see the people on the street who are struggling just to get by, and it makes me sick, man. It makes me mad.
Yeah, and it's crazy in the middle of the crisis that, like, the military budget went up before the crisis, but during the crisis, they managed to fund it again for a huge amount of money. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, why are we everywhere? Like, I had a joke the other day. You can only be in the number of countries you can name in a minute, because, like, people talk about Iraq and they talk about Afghanistan. We are everywhere. Like, more than once, U.S. soldiers have died in Africa. Congress doesn't know what we're doing there. At least they should know where we're at, and they don't seem to know.
That's because they're everywhere. They're literally in every country. We probably got a base. So, and it's the same for every other country, though. People would be surprised they're probably on American soil.
Yeah.
So, where do we go from here though? Like we've won. Okay, I say we. I guess I'm considered a Democrat now because I came over here for Andrew Yang. but where, like, okay, so they've won in Georgia, right? They won the extra seats that they needed. Now they have to be held accountable. They were ones rip roaring and ready to go, and now I hear Mnuchin coming out today talking about no on the $2,000 checks. But really, that can all go past him now that what's his name is the majority leader, Chuck Schumer, right?
Right.
It just goes past him. It doesn't even matter what Mnuchin says now, does it?
Yeah, I mean, they're saying they can get it by, but I thought spending money required more than a simple majority. But, even if it's just a simple majority, there's Mnuchin, okay? Even without him, they still have a majority. But, that's 50 senators, there's the one in Maine, that sometimes is like, oh, well, wait, she's technically Republican. Out of those 50 senators, there's got to be another one who might not go along with it, with certain things. Or on the other side, oh, it's not enough, so I'm not going to vote for it, which is what happened in the 60s with basic income, right?
Yeah. If I remember correctly, they were hollering and screaming. But that just shows you in the 80s and the 90s that they've been doing this whole freaking time. And it's played out perfectly during this pandemic. You've seen it. Oh, well, that's not enough, so we're not going to vote for it. We're not going to give you anything.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
We're not going to give you anything because we think you should have more. What?
Yeah.
What kind of ridiculous logic is that?
Exactly. Yeah, and when I ran in 2018, I was an independent. I was independent, since I first started voting back in 1988, right? And I only joined this party, because of Yang. And so I feel like our job, and I think you joined too, right? Just because of Yang. And
Yep.
Our job is to keep them honest and to keep them, remember, like, you just won Georgia. Please go down to Georgia, go down to South Georgia, South rural Georgia, where the black rural vote won this for you. Ask them what they need, because if you give them what they need, you're going to take care of rural Kentucky. You're going to take care of rural Ohio that is now red. It's just like, go talk to the people. Don't tell me what you're going to do to them. Go talk to them, see if that's what they want.
Yeah, I think what has been very, I guess not enough attention has been brought to it, but you hit the nail right on the head. It's the broke folks. It's
the
broke folks this time. It's the motherfuckers in Georgia who are broke and need that money. They turned out and they voted, and now it's up to all of us collectively to kind of hold their feet to the fire. And that's something that I was discussing on the low the other day, is on the trickle up, is that we were talking about how, if nothing else, this thing that popped off at the Capitol, it kind of lets them know that, hey, you're not untouchable and the people are starving. And if the people feel slighted enough, they will band together, regardless of whether you agree with their reason for being there or not. I don't personally, but it lets them know, hey, you guys are not untouchable, and it's a shame that we have to even be at that kind of point in this country where there is this sort of mob mentality.
Yeah, I mean, there was that, but even without that, I mean, I hope they take a lesson, but even without that, if they don't take care of people in the next 2 years, they'll see it in the ballot box. Like people, Trump had the highest Republican turnout ever. Okay. People are not seeing the Democrats as helping them out. The Democrats need to find the Republicans, and Republican or Democrat, the people who help Americans need to get reelected, and the people who don't need to go.
It's a little bit frustrating because when I see America, right, I really see that most people are right in the middle. You're always going to have your outliers on either side, and I always, those the extreme fringes on either side. But most people are just ordinary people who just want to do better for their families, do better for their neighborhood, do better. They don't want to have to struggle all the time. So why does it seem, right, that the only thing that actually wins in Washington is you got to believe this way or you got to believe this way, when most of us are right there in the middle? It just
Oh,
screams
it's
that,
just like a Twitter comment. If you say something reasonable, you might get 2 likes. If you say something outrageous, it'll climb right up, right? So it's like being reasonable doesn't get you any attention. And like, I don't know how to solve that for society.
and unfortunately, I think that that's exactly what the media capitalizes on all the time.
Oh yeah, because they're selling you that drama. The more scared you are, the more you turn in, the more commercials they can show, or the more audience they have for the commercials, and so it's not in their best interest to say that things are going okay when they are. I'm not saying that things are going okay, but even when they are, they'll find something to make you tune in.
And that's just it, man. It's so they will manufacture a crisis if there isn't.
Yeah.
We see it all the time, and it is like, what do you think the next step is with Trump? What do you think is going to happen with that?
Wow. I mean, it's hard to tell if they're going to go through with what they're talking about. And I see the point. You want to make sure that nobody encourages the kind of behavior that happened yesterday again. That's separate from people being mad. People being mad is people being mad. Even if you don't believe in what they believe, they have a right to be mad. But kicking down doors and stuff isn't the way to go. And a lot more. I don't want to get into all this stuff. A lot of serious things happened yesterday. So encouraging people online to do those things needs to stop. And so a lot of people are, going to be held accountable. But really, no matter which way it goes, I'm more concerned about what Biden does when he gets in. Like what happens to Trump, I was done with that like after November 2nd, like after he lost the election, that was it.
Yeah, but I swear though, dude, it just seems kind of, talk about the complete failure of our system. This whole system that we have set up, and I've been seeing these mother hunters on there preaching about this stuff for days, talking about they were going to be at the Capitol and they were going to do this. You telling me I'm seeing it, and you telling me that the powers that be just didn't see it? What?
I mean, maybe it was hard for them to take seriously because there tends to be a lot of that talk going around all the time. I mean, you remember, I will say certain people on the left talking revolution, constantly last year, or maybe you and I just see that more because we're in those circles. And it's like, and we kept telling them like, stop talking that, like, that's not healthy behavior. That's not a healthy conversation. You're not going to have some kind of revolution and, we're going to go over and do Stalin or whatever you think is going to happen, because it doesn't work that way. So, it was definitely there and it was easy to see. But either they were told not to worry about it or they were just got numb to it and didn't worry about it.
Well,
plus it wasn't like really, really planned. I mean, it was talked about, but there wasn't like one leader telling other people exactly like, you go through this one day. It was a mob. They just ran up there and did it. Like, they were mad. They all said that they were going to do it. They pretty much dared themselves into doing it. Hold my beer, and they went and did it. Like that's how that happened. So it wasn't like there was like a giant organization, with a sketched out plan. They just went and did that. It was spontaneous. I mean, granted, they showed up, they were mad, they were thinking about doing it and thinking that they were going to do it. But like when they actually did it, it wasn't organized. They just did it. It was spontaneous.
Yeah, and this is something that I hope that everybody that watches this keeps in mind is like, we have a right to peacefully protest. That wasn't peaceful. And I'm just as against it when I saw it during like Black Lives. And I do feel like things get to a point where it bubbles over and people are just fed up and they're just done with dealing with it, and they feel like they need to send a message for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. I think we're living I don't know like what's going to happen in this country. I really don't. I thought I used to know, but I really don't anymore.
It seems like, we're struggling right now. Like we need to figure out what our position in the world is. We need to start taking care of people at home. And it seems like all these other things that come up just keep us distracted from those two things,
Yeah, it's very unfortunate because instead of, like you said, focusing on the people, we're focused on all this other shit that they got us watching and doing and staying in your little boxes. And, it's so frustrating because I come from the conservative side and all I hear conservatives can't afford it. And it's only when it comes to the people. It's never, ever when it comes to the fucking companies and everybody else who needs to get a payout. They always get their money. It definitely favors the rich. And I don't know what the poor people in this country are going to do unless we have more candidates running on things like universal basic income.
Yeah, exactly.
So talk about what's in the future for you.
Oh, I just I just make up things day after day. Now that I like I said, I was out of work last year. Now that I'm back in work and everything's good here. Like I said, when I ran in 2018, that was just like, I'm going to go do this. And then after that, I actually granted I was on the Reddit and saw Yang, but I'm like, that'd be great if he ever made it, but then I ignored it and I just logged off. And then I tried my hand at doing a local newspaper thing and that didn't work out, and then, in April, I go on the YouTube and Yang's on the Breakfast Club. And I'm like, wow, he's like known. Wow, he's got these math hats. That's funny as hell. I'm going to go buy one of those, and then, from there I was involved, and so, yeah, I don't know. There's this idea. I've always had some ideas about doing robots. So, I just do random stuff. The Ohio, okay, so I'm in Kentucky, but I'm really close to Ohio. And we have no elections here in Kentucky next year. So probably after the vaccine, I'll be hanging around Ohio, helping them out.
Tell me what your mentality was like when you decided to run, right? Were you like, man, I'm going to win this shit, dude. I don't care what it's going to take. I'm going to win this. Or what was your mentality? Like, what was going through your head?
Well, okay, so where I run, it's been the same guy for a decade. And it was mainly because what Trump showed is regular politicians aren't working anymore. Like back in the old day, politicians were sort of professional, etc. And then, fast forwarding a couple of decades, it was a little looser, but they were still career politicians. And Trump showed it's like career politicians are not solving the problems with this country, And so I'm like, okay, well, if that's the thing, then I'm going to try it, because I'm like, I think the two sides, like a lot of comments on the Yang Gang, it's the two parties that are the problem. So I'm going to run as an independent, go down the middle, and I just want to fix stuff, and then, later on, that's exactly what Yang says, and that's why we all love Yang, because it's like, yeah, there's parties and all that, but I'm just here to fix some things. That's all I'm here for. That's what a politician should do.
I think that that's part of the problem, right? Is most people who consider themselves independent don't want anything to do with either side, so that we kind of stay out of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where I was at until Yang, and I'm like, all right, well, I'll jump in on this side for now, but I will be lecturing them on you guys are going to lose unless you start taking care of people.
Yes, it's so funny because coming from the Republican side, you get over here to the Democrat side, and you're like, man, it's no wonder you guys lose all the time. You guys,
Yeah,
look at the way you guys run shit over here. It's so crazy. But then you see it on the Republican side too. It's just as corrupt.
yeah,
Personally, I kind of feel like we've gotten to this point in the country where both sides work for the same corporations.
yeah. I mean, because they've got to get elected, right? And so they need money, and people, the corporations will give them money in different ways, and have the money to send lobbyists to them to talk them into things, because it's all about who you talk to, right? So if you pay somebody to go talk to somebody, well, then for what you want them to hear, then that's what they're going to hear. So that keeps them busy. And then, well, like another reason why I only became a Patreon to your channel, like, in the last week was, after giving that money to Yang, I needed to rebuild, so it's people with money who do it, and so, and that's what gets the ads out and gets people to vote. So yeah, it's just, that's the part of the system that's broke.
How do we fix it?
Well, you remember Yang had that, what did he call that? His democracy dollars? I forget what the name was. I mean, just $100 in election cycle would make a huge difference, and we're talking about 2,000 checks once in this year. And then, the 1,200, how much was that last year? I forget. But yeah, $100 every 2 years would change elections forever.
And his policy right there was the whole reason that I decided to 100,000% go behind Andrew Yang and throw everything that I could towards trying to get him elected. Because for years and years and years, I've seen the corruptness in Washington. I've been preaching against it for so long that it's like people don't even hardly listen anymore. It's like, we know they're corrupt as fuck, but there's nothing that we can do about it. So we hands are tied. Like, we vote in, they only negatively affect our lives, if at all. It seems like no matter who you vote in, none of them affect your life unless it's in a negative way.
Well, and what I would recommend for general people to do is, it's really about, we tend to get involved at the last minute, after the primary to the general. So much stuff happens in the primary, before the primary. Like, I might go to some Democratic meetings this year just to see what they talk about, because that's where they decide among themselves who they're going to support, and local offices matter. If we want ranked choice voting, we got to talk to our state reps. We have to have state reps that support ranked choice voting or star voting.
Yeah, and it's a must, man. We have to move towards ranked choice voting.
Yeah.
And I feel like most of the problems would be solved with ranked choice voting. Because you had, like Andrew, a lot of people who were like, well, he's just not going to win. He's just not going to win. If you had ranked choice voting, all of those people would be like, hey, let me just click him in here.
Yeah. It's like, all right, well, I'll click the guy who won't win first and then do my real choice second, and then he would have won and it would have been amazing. Yeah.
Talk about what an Andrew Yang presidency would have done for this country.
I mean, so many things, because even like when Barack Obama won, and I know people have problems with it, but when he won, he was a senator, and maybe, the way we look at things now, he was establishment, but when he came in, he did not use any of the establishment. So he had a whole brand new crew. And so he said, I'm just going to hire people that I know to do things instead of people like, who are professionally Republican and Democrat going back and forth, running different things. So Yang would have brought in new people to oversee things, and he would have hired professionals because, like, he only got into it to fix the country. He wasn't really interested in being president just to be president. He's like, I'm just here to fix things, and he would have brought in people just to fix things. Like, he would have hired experts that aren't part of the political machine and not worried about, are they Republican, are they Democrat? Like Biden is trying to hire a lot of Republican establishment people into his cabinet. So it shows that we have unity, and it's like, all you've done is unify the establishment. So, I hope things go well for him, but it's like, I understand you're trying to do unity, but you're only unifying the establishment. You're not, like, you should just hire experts,
You know what I think should happen, man? I think Andrew Yang, he should run, right? And then he should form like the Avengers, right? And he should get like Vermin Supreme to be one of his people. He should get like Zoltan is transhumanist to his people. He get Tulsi to be one of his people. And they can just form this Avenger-like group and just go in and wreck shit in Washington.
Yeah.
That would be great. If only we could actually have that, right? If only we could actually have that. Well, David, I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to join us. Do you have any words for the Yang Gang before we get out of here?
Oh, no, I'm all good. I'm glad we're all still together,
And that, I think, is as the Yang Gang. Like, no matter what side of the Yang Gang you fall on, whether you're on the left side or the right side, y'all just love each other, man. Life is way too short and way too precious. And if 2020 has taught us anything, it's that. So y'all we got to love each other. David, I appreciate you being on here, man.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's do a part 2 real soon.
All right, cool.
There you have it, Yang Gang. Another person has been on this show. It's crazy to me as I look back, and I think this since we started this show and since we started putting up YouTube videos, it amazes me the wealth of knowledge that has come through these doors. And I encourage you, if you haven't seen some of the older episodes, go back and watch them, because you get a look into the human spirit on both sides of the aisle. Yang Gang, we love you. Next one, cussing in the background. They're recording for the gaming channel. Kitty in the Water. Go check it out. We already got one video up.